needing to control over local government. And further, in the notes to the transcript on page 71, note 38, the author makes this comment. Revenue sharing is merely a new Madison Avenue name for the old device known as federal aid. Not only does it lead to federal control over that which is subsidized, but the amount raked off the top by the federal government is appalling. For instance, recent figures show that in New Hampshire, residents pay $688 to the federal government for every $60 that the state gets back in federal contributions. Connecticut pays $1,013 per capita and gets back $62. Maine pays $588 per capita and gets back $75. Massachusetts pays $824 and gets back $72. As the dollar amount of revenue shared with the states increases, the amount taken from them also increases by the same lopsided ratio. Even if the process did not concentrate power into the federal government, which it does, it would still be insane to support this kind of political con game. In other words, federal aid, or revenue sharing, or whatever it might be called, is but a thinly disguised con game. By this maneuver, more of our property and wealth is transferred to the federal government, while small amounts are given back to the people or to the state so politicians there can use them as they choose, and we are given the image that we are somehow getting something for free because we get back a little bit of something in various forms. As noted in The Capitalist Conspiracy, much of the material was taken from this book, The Naked Capitalist by W. Cleon Skousen. Many people do not remember, or many people, of course, watching this tape were not alive, when Senator Joseph McCarthy was a prominent member of the United States Senate. Most people have certainly not heard anything favorable about him because most textbooks that deal with Senator McCarthy in that time period of American history refer to him in very unflattering terms. He's generally pictured as a nut or a fanatic or a kook who went around calling just about everybody in sight a communist. Mr. Skousen points out that this, of course, is far from the truth. At one point in the hearings conducted by Senator McCarthy, he was questioning General Ralph Zwicker about his involvement in the promotion of certain people in the United States Army who were suspected of being communists. Quoting from Dr. Skousen's book on page 86, McCarthy then asked General Zwicker if he thought a general who had knowingly covered up for a communist should be removed from his command. General Zwicker said he didn't think that was sufficient reason to remove a general. Ex-Marine McCarthy was quick to react to that one. He immediately said, "Then, General, you should be removed from any command. Any man who has been given the honor of being promoted to general and who says, 'I will protect another general who promoted communists,' is not fit to wear that uniform, General." It should be pointed out that these hearings were being conducted shortly after the Korean War, when the United States was involved in a fight, of course, against various communist forces. Going on in Dr. Skousen's book, we read the details of how this event led to an end, really, of the hearings that McCarthy was conducting, as McCarthy himself now became the individual who was being attacked. A vast amount of propaganda was developed against him, including that of the establishment press, and also including the Communist Daily Worker, which published an instruction kit on how to get McCarthy. Quoting from page 87 of Dr. Skousen's book, it was advertised as 4 full pages on Senator Joe Low Blow McCarthy, his record, and what you can do about him. End quote. 2 graduate students from Yale University decided that they would take a cold, hard look at the various McCarthy hearings and then examine the charges one by one. They did find a variety of things for which they thought Senator McCarthy might be criticized somewhat, but they decided that without a doubt there was a very concentrated campaign to deceive the American people about the actual issues. The book was titled McCarthy and His Enemies and was written by Mr. William Buckley and Brent Bozell. This book contains an analysis of all of the charges against McCarthy and gives a case-by-case report on the people who supposedly were smeared by him, but in fact who were not improperly treated at all. Later, another book was written titled Who Promoted Perez by Mr. Lionel Locos, and this deals in some detail with the entire incident of General Zwicker and what he was talking about promoting or protecting communists. But as I noted, and as Dr. Skousen points out, it was now Senator McCarthy who was constantly being attacked and smeared and investigated. And the Senate even decided they would censure him, although finally when they got around to it they used the word condemn instead of censure. They had a committee which made up 46 charges against him. And I say made up because when this committee report went to the full Senate, 44 of the 46 charges were thrown out. Of those which remained, one stated that Senator McCarthy had failed to cooperate with a Senate committee on privileges and elections, and that the second one, Senator McCarthy had, quote, intemperately abused General Ralph Zwicker. Very flimsy charges indeed to condemn a United States senator. Senator McCarthy was even investigated by the Internal Revenue Service, an almost sure sign that somebody is out to get you. The Internal Revenue Service went over his tax returns, and after a considerable investigation, they sent him a refund check for $1,000 because he had deliberately overpaid his taxes because, as he said, and remember McCarthy was a lawyer and a judge at one time, he couldn't figure out what the IRS forms meant and what he really did owe because of the confusing complexity of the whole internal revenue system. I'm Dr. Lawrence R. Bourne from the Department of History and Geography at Northern Kentucky University. Thank you for watching this part of the Know Your Government series. If you would like further information, for instance, a copy of the transcript, The Capitalist Conspiracy, or copies of other books mentioned in this tape, you may obtain such information by contacting either Barbara Dimmitt at 871-0448 or Carol Maddox at 441-6030. Thank you.